It's the 9th of September. It's the first international break. Why am I sat here talking about potential transfers? Bristol City forward Sinclair Armstrong has been linked quite concretely with a move away from Bristol City with Turkish side Göztepe, whose window and Turkish and Greek windows close on the 12th of September. So they've got about 3 more days. So what, they've got 11 more days in English domestic windows. Is that a good thing, bad thing? I suppose you tell me in the comment section down below. We'll talk about Armstrong, potential departure, what that could mean, implications, and all of that good stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. Sinclair Armstrong, then 39 games for Bristol City in the league. 17 of those have been starts for City. He scored 3 goals in his time here, and I bet I can name all of them from the top of my head. Millwall at home, with 2-0, he scored the header. Oxford at home, where he scored the tap-in to make it 1-1, the equaliser in that game. And then he made it 4-0, didn't he, against Plymouth at home, where he came off the bench, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, he's not exactly been prolific in this time at Bristol City. I think it's safe to assume. But he never really has been in his career. At QPR, he kind of came onto the scene initially, looked really good using his pace, his dynamism, his just raw athletic ability. This guy is so powerful, so strong. He's got that obvious advantage over other people, over defenders, which should make defenders afraid to play against him. But what we've seen is, okay, you don't have to be a natural goal scorer or a prolific goal scorer to be a good striker. Emil Rees, for example, before he scored twice against Hull, is that you just have to make sure you use those advantages. Sinclair Armstrong has quite a few of them physically to your advantage and use it as a strength. And unfortunately, Sinclair Armstrong, in his time here, in his year and a bit at Bristol City, after making a pretty big money move from QPR, hasn't really done that consistently enough. I remember times last season, particularly at the start of last season, where he used his sort of might and his body and his strength, and fouls kept being given against him, and that was frustrating, obviously. But I think more as you go on, you get a sense of doesn't really know what he's doing with his body. He's got to be able to make sure that if he's going to use that to his strength, he's got to use that better. He's got to use that miles better than he has been anyway in his career. And that's been really frustrating because you can see that this guy has got all the raw attributes to be such a prolific, I mean, not prolific, but a dynamic, fast, just an option up top that's so different to what we see nowadays in football. And a sort of option that everyone craves for, and we just haven't been able to extract that from him, and he hasn't been able to show that on a consistent enough basis with Bristol City. That being said, he's still young. He's only 22. He's only been at Bristol City for a year and a little bit. But again, it's just been so unconvincing from Sinclair Armstrong. If you're not going to use your strengths and your peak physical attributes to your advantage, at least be a good goal scorer. And the finishing at points has just been so frustrating. The decision making at times has been so frustrating. I think it was Derby away where he got put in one-on-one, or not one-on-one, he got put into the left-hand channel. It was such a good position. He could have crossed it, but he instead decided to shoot, which wasn't the worst decision in the world. Tame shot, just kind of went. It's kind of Sinclair Armstrong we kind of have come to know at Bristol City. And once again, I'll reiterate, he's still only 22. There's a long time left in his career. But I think the standard at Bristol City has got higher and higher over the last few seasons, and Sinclair Armstrong just hasn't been able to match that. He was part of a sort of striker rebuild last summer, where Tommy Conway left. We brought in Sinclair Armstrong and Feli Miulu, both brought in to sort of net gain on Tommy Conway. That just hasn't happened. Anyway, we'll talk about this potential transfer then. €1 million, I think, is the bid that was largely put around, or if there wasn't a bid, there was definitely concrete interest from Göztepe for Armstrong. So if I try to remember, we paid about £2.5 million for him, so €1 million is a significant loss on that just a year on. But are we really going to recoup that money, especially if this is now sort of watermark-ish for what we're probably expecting from him? Probably not. So that's something. So look, we're probably not going to recoup that money. We're definitely not going to make a profit on Sinclair Armstrong at this point in his career. So is it time to cut our losses and move on? there's another complication with that. Bristol City have already loaned out a striker this summer, just this past on deadline day. Actually, we loaned out Sam Bell to Wickham. So before deadline day, we went into it with Emil Rees, Fally Miulu, Sinclair Armstrong, Sam Bell, Harry Cornick, and potentially Ephraim Maboa. But 5 solid options there, 5 concrete options in the first team. Sam Bell's gone. Let's say Sinclair Armstrong goes. We're left with 3. We've got Emil Rees, who let's hope to God that he doesn't get injured or is suspended for too long, or is available for the majority of the season. We've got Fally Miulu, who's been largely unconvincing in English football, hasn't really started too many games, hasn't really made too many appearances for Bristol City. And we've got Harry Cornick, who's barely played any football for feels like 2 years. So you've got 3 options there, all different. One really strong one, and then 2 you're going convincing, really unconvincing. So it's never been a problem about numbers for Bristol City going forward. In fact, we have too many, but it's been about the quality, and it's always been about the quality going forward in those attacking positions that's been such a problem. Sinclair Armstrong, going back onto him, he's come on in the first 3 games. He came on ahead of Fally Miulu in all of those games, and I'd say it probably went in terms of pecking order when Emil Rees and then Armstrong and Fally interchangeable. That was still for debate. Maybe then Sam Bell, Harry Cornick, and Yeboah. It feels like that order's kind of changed. We now have probably Fally ahead of Sinks, and that's probably what Struber sees as well. And against Hull, okay, yeah, we were 4-1 up, and it was a dead rubber at that point. But Fally Miulu got chosen ahead of Sinclair Armstrong at minute 83, and that felt like, despite it being completely irrelevant in terms of result, and Fally doesn't need to come on, and we're not expecting a goal from him at that point. It felt like a bit of a significant point, and maybe it felt like this is the pecking order now: Emil Rees, and then Fally Miulu. But at that point, obviously, we were still hoping that maybe a striker would come in to be a direct deputy or direct competition for Emil Rees. Jacob Brown deal obviously fell through. So yeah, I think now it's probably Fally ahead of Armstrong. So do you really want two number 2s fighting for the number 2 position? I don't think that's good. So yeah, okay, we'll only have 3 options compared to the 5, excluding Yeboah. Maybe we should include Yeboah in this. So we'll have 4 really, with Rees, Miulu. I've turned my back. I've changed my mind there. Rees, Miulu, Cornick, Yeboah. You've got 4 options. 3 of them are really sort of, we don't know. One of them we don't know what we're going to get, Yeboah. 2 of them has been unconvincing at Bristol City, and Rees is obviously the number 1 choice who will play every game if and when available. So yeah, I don't know what. I think it's a really impossible position. Again, Bristol City are going to go with, similar to what Zach Viner. It's obviously Zach Viner's a lot more important to Bristol City than Sinclair Armstrong, but we're not going to be able to get a replacement unless we look into the free agent market, which I doubt we'll do. And we're going to lose money on him. That's probably expected if we were going to be looking to move him on in this summer anyway. But it's not like we're losing a hell of a lot of quality, however harsh that is, on Sinclair Armstrong. That's purely from his time at Bristol City, what I've seen from him anyway. Anyway, let me know thoughts on this potential transfer in the comment section down below. I'd love to know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I think if a bid, and as has been reported, if a bid is sufficient enough for Bristol City to, think, okay, yeah, we're going to be left a little bit short, probably a little bit short on quality anyway. We'll probably sanction the sale and probably cut our losses and move on. Flip-wise, again, he's still young, and if at some point in his career it just all clicks and you suddenly use his attributes well, his clear advantages physically, and he can use it to get the better of opposition, even if he's, again, not a clinical goal scorer in his career, he can be such a handful for opposition. He'd be so deadly, and unfortunately, apart from a little period in his career at QPR, that hasn't really been the case consistently enough in his 2 full years of Championship football. I want to say 2 and a bit years. It just hasn't been the case, and that's unfortunately been a little bit of a letdown in his time at Bristol City. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on Sinclair Armstrong potentially moving to Göztepe. Would you sanction it? Would you not? And I think if everyone said, "Oh, we'll let Sinclair Armstrong go," but you can get, if this is in the middle of the transfer window, we went, yeah, let Armstrong go, and then we can get a replacement in like Jacob Brown, like anyone. I think we'd probably said, yeah, fine, no worries. We'll move on. it's just this point, it's so awkward, isn't it? And unless there's a really good sort of free agent we're looking at who can fit into what we want and fit into the mold and actually be an upgrade, I think it's so hard for Bristol City to sort of look at this and go, right, simple solution. That's just unfortunately where we are at this point in the window. We're out of the window for us. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.